Okay, we're getting ready to get into the software. And right before we do that, let me just give a structural overview. So in our software, we have what you'll see are called sessions. And this is everything related to an administration session. So this is going to include prep, admin, and integration, which are all kind of, smaller sessions that happen in there. And so when we think of sessions, it'll just be kind of that greater umbrella of sessions. In our software, we've got clients versus sessions, and this allows for a couple of cool features that we can do. The client record is unique to each facilitator. So there might be, a client could work with multiple facilitators over the year. They would have a unique record with each of that facilitator. And that's really the homepage for the facilitator to keep notes and an entire history of a client that they've worked with. That client record is not shared with the center that they're working at. So this is one way that we allow things to stay private. So if there are notes about a client that you don't want shared with the center, that's your homepage. You can keep all of that stuff right there. On the flip side, the sessions are shared with the centers. And so, one thing we've learned in Oregon is that cutting back on the communication back and forth, as soon as you schedule a session at a particular center in our software, the service center or the healing center admin can see that session information. There's a lot of information that they need to know and track that's in there, so that we make that happen very easily. Also, with having clients versus sessions, we can have a many-to-one relationship. So if you work with a client over and over, have different sessions, you can track that and see all of their different sessions. As I mentioned, this allows facilitators to work at different healing centers, and it allows admins to very easily see all of the activity that's happening at their healing center. Cool. Let's hop in. Give me just a second. I'm gonna have to figure out where my screen is. Okay.
Your screen's on your computer.
Thanks, Nico.
Brilliant.
There it is.
Helpful as always. You know what? I'm going to move this real quick. Okay, can everybody see my screen now? Seeing some head nods and thumbs up. Cool. Welcome to Althea. So right now I am logged in as a facilitator. I'm on my homepage and I can see the statuses of where things are at. So I can see I'm currently working with 6 folks that I'm preparing for an administration session. One person who has completed all preparation steps, but hasn't had an administration session. We've got 4 folks that have been completed here. I'm going to walk through kind of the high level things here, and I'll start by just walking through creating a client and walking through a session. I can come here and I can see all of my list of clients. I'm going to add a new client. Since we're working in the great state of Colorado, we'll throw in John Denver. I'm not sure what John Denver's mother's name is, but we'll just do this. Cool. So I can create a new client and put in some high-level info about that client. I actually don't think John Denver is actually from Colorado. I just wrote a great song about it. So I'll add this in as a high-level note here. In the middle, I can see that I have a log of all the sessions. Since this is a new client, I don't have any sessions at the moment, but we'll create one here. Down below, I have the opportunity to track notes. So I can put in notes, save, and we would just have a running list of timestamped notes that I can keep down here. And I also have the option for a document repository. So if I wanted to upload documents and keep with the client, I can do that here. I'll show you in the sessions how we handle more of the state regulated documents and some of the questionnaires we send. This is the client record, which I have access to. And I'm going to go ahead and schedule a session for John Denver. So we'll use the Althea Healing Center. And I'll schedule out, we'll say John Denver's date is going to be, his administration date will be here in a couple of weeks. You can see here, I also have the ability to do this, make this an individual or group session. If I were to make it, I could toggle to group here and I could come down to add, and I could add other clients into this. So I'd have to create those client records, but I could easily expand this and make this a group and track people through that process that way. Cool. I've clicked create session and we can see some of the details up here and I can edit those. And down here, we've got everything that goes into a session. So we've got 3 tabs that I'm going to take us through: preparation, administration, and integration. And this is where bulk of the features exist of things that we can do and log and send our client and make sure that we're staying compliant and track them through the process. I can add a prep session and log notes here. Let's go ahead and do that. And so I can get a running list of any preparation sessions I have. Similarly, on the integration tab, we have that as well, so you can collect those types of notes. We've also developed some questionnaires. We've got a baselines survey and a safety assessment screening. For our baselines survey, we are using validated medical screeners that measure well-being, depression, and anxiety. And we can collect some baseline level information for the client to just get a sense of where they're at. So this is surveys I can send to the client by either copying this link and sending to them, or I can click send questionnaires here. And this will automatically send them an email with this information. I can toggle what I'd like to send. And what we'll do is you can measure this ahead of time and you can measure it afterwards as well. We put together a little report showing what this means, how this data is relevant, and how you might want to use that to help your client as part of preparation and integration too. As I alluded to earlier, we have a safety assessment as well, and this wasn't something that we built, but a team of researchers and doctors and professionals at the University of Colorado put this together. I believe this is going to be the suggested or encouraged form that Coloradans, the program that Door and Door would like folks to use. It's pretty thorough, collecting medical information and history. And similarly, we put together a report on this as well to say, are there any red or yellow flags, things that should be gone over and talked about to make sure that someone is as safe as they can be before going into a psychedelic journey. We can see with John that we're in the preparing status. And what that means is the system is waiting for all of the required checkboxes that are checked. They're waiting for that to be completed and a document to be listed with it before moving, before saying ready for preparation. And so this is really where the facilitators have the ability to decide, well, what do I want to be sending my client? One note here, so we're going through the Oregon setup at the moment. Right now, we're waiting on the finalized Colorado forms. So I'm using Oregon as an example, but it'll work very similarly when we have the Colorado forms finalized and up and running, which should be quite soon. So what we've done here is we've defaulted the required ones for the ones that are always required. These are sometimes required, but the facilitator can come in here and decide which ones actually are required. And so in this case, they might say, well, I might need an interpreter or a support person, so I'm going to make this one required too. So folks can come in and say exactly what they want to send out, and make sure that they've got the right paperwork as part of preparation. I'm going to go ahead and send these questionnaires. And what's nice in the system is we can see that that sent date. So as we're kind of tracking things through the process of making sure that things are getting filled out, we know, cool, this was sent at this time. Similarly, I can look at this here and it's going to double check. Do you have the right form selected that you want to be sending? And down here, we've got this great feature where we can pre-fill some information in these forms. So what's really cool about this process is, first off, some things are already pre-filled. So we know the client's name and the facilitator's name, and the center that they're at. So this type of information gets pre-populated to cut down on what the client needs to fill out. And similarly, we can add in some more details here. So if before sending this out, you know already what these plans look like, you talk through that with the client, you can pre-populate this. This cuts down on some of that back and forth. And if you haven't discussed that, that's okay as well. We'll say that the client is staying nearby and they're just going to walk back, that they don't have support plan. And we can just put some doses in here that we've discussed. Cool. We click send, these documents go out, and the way that this process works is these will go out to the client for review, filling out, and signature, and then they'll go to the facilitator for review and signature. Once all of that's complete and they review those together, these get uploaded here, and you'll see that they get marked as completed. And they'll have a document in here too. And I'll show you in a minute what that looks like when someone's actually completed all of this. For administration, it's a lot simpler. We're just collecting a few details after administration. So we're collecting some of the medicine that was used, start and end time, and if there was any type of adverse event or not, or anything you want to log here. So we'll have that information. With integration, like I mentioned, we've got session notes, so you can log all integration sessions and notes related to that. We've also got some outcomes questionnaires that we schedule automatically for folks. So we have the mystical experience questionnaire, which we send a day or two after someone's journey for them to fill out. This can be a great tool to reflect on their experience and something that could be used as part of integration. And second, we have a feedback and outcomes follow-up survey. So the outcomes actually measures some of the same things that the baselines did. That will be the measuring the well-being, depression, and anxiety again, so that we can measure the before and the after, and see if there's any change there. And then it has some general feedback, things like how safe do they think they were. So this is some of the data we were looking at earlier. How beneficial was this? How well did they meet their goals? Some of those types of questions to help them do some reflection that can be helpful for integration too. If I go back, I'll show you what a completed session looks like. And we've got Trey Parker here. And we can see Trey is in the status of completed. And if I come down here, I can see that some of this stuff was completed. And we can take a look at some of these reports. So we put together these reports so that folks who are using this can make sense of what this looks like. So to measure well-being, for instance, we use the WHO-5, which is a validated medical screener. And we can see that coming in, Trey had a 32%. And we can say that, we have some general averages that this can be compared against. And so this might be useful. This might be something that's helpful for understand why someone's coming in, or what might be great steps to help them as part of preparation. Similarly, we do an evaluation for depression and anxiety. And in the future, we'd like to expand that as well to other reasons that people are coming in, and providing more tools that help collect and measure some information around that. For Trey, for the risk assessment, this is what that looks like. So our report that comes back is going to highlight some red and yellow flags, and then give you the spit out of all of the details here of a medical and mental health history, and highlight some of the things that you might want to be reviewing. So in this one, some medications that Trey is taking. So we're trying to give more information at folks' fingertips to make this easier, and make sure that people are feeling safe and trusted as they come through this. I'll show you real quick here that we have the reports, the documents right in there, so you can come in and see the signed documents. So you've always got access to those. This is where you can store and keep all of that information. On the back end, with the integration surveys we've got, we similarly send out a report on what the MEQ 30, what that result looks like, what does that result mean, what is the breakdown, and how does it compare? How does it compare against other studies that have been done? So you could use this potentially as a part of integration for sharing fun, interesting information with your client. And lastly, we've got the feedbacks and outcomes survey as well. So we've got some high-level questions. How meaningful was this to you? And then similarly, we've got the WHO-5 and a depression and anxiety measure as well on the back end. And in this one, we can actually compare the results of the before and after, which might be really important or interesting for the facilitator and for the client. Okay, that is creating a client. That's going through a session. That's some of what our reporting looks like. Let me show you one other view. So as my user here, I'm actually both a facilitator and an admin at a healing center, and so I can change context. And what you'll notice is I don't have, as an admin, I don't have a client tab, because as an admin, I would switch to facilitator if I was putting my facilitator hat on for clients I work with. But what's great about this is I can see there's a bunch of different facilitators here. So what I'm actually seeing is all of the session information from all of the sessions that are scheduled at my healing center. So I can see, high level, here's where we're at. Here's what's going on, here's what's scheduled, here's what's not. And so I can, help assist facilitators as things are going through, and make sure we're dotting our I's and crossing our T's. We can see we put little warning signs to say, hey, this is a session that has a date in the past, but it doesn't have all the documentation complete. So our goal here with keeping people organized around this is to help them understand where things are at in the system, and how to move things forward to make sure that everything's getting completed. As an admin, I get to control the facilitators that I'm working with that work at my center. So we have the ability, you can invite facilitators here. And lastly, we have some reporting. So in Oregon, they've got some data reporting requirements, and this includes some aggregated information. So this is something that we've put together to help make sure that they are staying compliant in that program.